Good day, everyone. So, we're going to discuss the final examination in differential calculus. First, we have the part one, which this is all about solving the derivative of each of the following functions. Then um, we have the part two, which are multiple choice, but it's also about mostly our derivatives. So, in this part one, we will use different rules of differentiation, such as the power rule, the product rule, the quotient rule, the chain rule, the logarithmic differentiation, the trigonometric differentiation, inverse trigonometric differentiation, exponential differentiation, and implicit differentiation. So, I will explain each solution step by step in complete, and I think the process of this are easier to understand. So I have this set of solutions. Let's have number one first. So the first problem, the equation given is y multiplied by the square root of x plus 1 equals 4. So the first step is to isolate y by dividing both sides by the square root of x plus 1. So after simplifying, y becomes 4 multiplied by the quantity of x plus 1 raised to the negative 1 half power. And next, apply the power rule together with the chain rule. So multiply 4 by negative 1 half, then subtract 1 from the exponent and multiply by the derivative of the inside quantity, which is 1. So after simplifying, the derivative becomes negative 2 divided by the quantity x plus 1 raised to the power of 3 halves. So next is the second problem. We have the function is 5x squared over x plus 47. So since this is a quotient, we use the quotient rule. So the quotient rule states that the denominator multiplied by the derivative of the numerator minus the numerator multiplied by the derivative of the denominator is all divided by the square of the denominator, or simply v du minus u dv over v squared. So the derivative of 5x squared is 10x, while the derivative of x plus 47 is 1. So we have to substitute this into the quotient rule formula and expand the numerator and combine like terms. So that's why our complete answer, that would be 5x multiplied by the quantity of x plus 94 over the quantity of x plus 47 squared. So that is our simplified answer. So next we have the third problem, which is f of x is equal to 2xy minus y squared is equal to 1. So um, since both x and y are present in the equation, we use implicit differentiation. So differentiate every term with respect to x. For the term 2xy, apply the product rule. So the derivative becomes 2 times the quantity x times y prime plus y. For the y squared, apply the chain rule, resulting in 2y y prime. And after differentiating, group all terms containing y prime on one side, factor out y prime and solve for it. So that's why our answer is y prime is equal to negative y over x, x minus y. So we have our first problem, number 4. F of x is equal to sin x multiplied by tangent x. So because the function is a product of two expressions, we apply the product rule. So our product rule, that would be u dv plus v du, or the derivative of sine x, and the derivative of sine x is cosine x, while the derivative of tangent x is secant squared x. And we have to substitute into the product rule formula. So the final answer, that would be f prime of x is equal to x cos x tan x plus sine x sec squared x. So we have the number 5. F of x is equal to sine x cubed cos x squared. So again, this is product rule and it is the same with the problem number 4. So we have to differentiate sine of x cubed using the chain rule. So the derivative becomes cosine of x cubed multiplied by 3x squared. And differentiate cosine of x squared, the derivative becomes negative sine of x squared multiplied by 2x. So we have to substitute into the product rule formula. So the final derivative becomes 3x squared cosine of x cubed cosine of x squared minus 2x sine of x cubed sine of x squared. So let's have problem number 6. So our problem number 6 is f of x is equal to a raised to x over e raised to x. So we have to rewrite the function first as a raised to x multiplied by e raised to negative x. So we have to use the product rule for that. So the derivative of a raised to x is raised to x multiplied by the natural logarithm of a, and the derivative of e raised to negative x is negative e raised to negative x. So we have to substitute and factor common terms. So the final derivative becomes a raised to x divided by e raised x multiplied by the quantity natural logarithm of a minus 1. Next is we have our problem number 7, which is f of x is equal to ln 3 over x. So we have to apply logarithm properties first, then rewrite the expression as the natural logarithm of 3 minus the natural logarithm of x. So the derivative of the natural logarithm of 3 is 0 because it is a constant. Then the derivative of the natural logarithm of x is 1 over x. So therefore, the final derivative is negative 1 over x. So we have our number 8. So y is equal to x raised to 5 times or multiplied by tangent x. So for this kind of problem, since we've encountered this since number 4, So we have to apply the product rule. And the derivative of x raised to the fifth is 5x raised to the fourth, while the derivative of a tangent x is secant squared x. So we have to substitute into the formula of the product rule, which udv plus vdu, and the final derivative becomes 5x raised to fourth multiplied by tan x plus x raised to 5 multiplied by sec squared x. So let's have our number 9 problem. So the function of 2 minus x over 3x plus 1. So we have to apply the quotient rule, and the derivative of the numerator is negative 1, while the derivative of the denominator is 3. So substitute into the quotient rule formula and simplify carefully. So after simplifying, the final derivative becomes a negative 7 divided by the quantity of 3x plus 1 squared. So I think that's very easy since this kind of problem was encountered, especially um if you're in STEM before. So let's have number 10. So our number 10, the function is square root of 3 minus 2x. So we have to write the square root as an exponential of 1/2, since writing the square root is the easiest way in differentiating square root. So we have, in this kind of problem, let's apply the chain rule. So we differentiate 1/2 times the inside quantity raised to negative 1/2, then multiply by the derivative of the inside quantity, which is negative 2. Then simplifying gives the final derivative as negative 1 over the square root of 3 minus 2x. So let's have number 11. The function is 2 divided by the quantity of 5x plus 1 raised to 3. So first, let's rewrite using negative exponents, since this is a this is a this is a fractions, or in division form we can, or in quotient form, then um transform it into like multiplication for it to be solved kanang easy, 'di ba? So that would be that would be y prime is equal to 2 times all multiplied by the quantity of 5x plus 1 raised to negative 3. So using the chain rule, first is we have to multiply the base times the power, which is the negative or exponent, which is negative 3. So, and multiplied by the inner function, which is 5x plus 1. Then for our exponent, that would be negative 3, um add negative 3 plus 1. So that multiplied by 5. Where do we get 5? It was it came from this, from the inner function, the derivative of the inner function. So 2 times negative 3, that would be negative 6, times 5, that would be negative 30. So that would be negative 30 multiplied by 5x plus 1. But we have to transform it again into the original functions, which is in quotient form. So that's why our final answer, that would be y prime, is equal to negative 30 over the quantity of 5x plus 4, 5x plus 1 raised to the power of 4. So let's have our number 12. That would be y is equal to 2 times the square root of x minus 1 over 2 times the square root of x. So we should rewrite it using exponents. So that would be y um y prime is equal to 2x raised to 1 half minus 1 half x raised to 1 half. So so let's have we can differentiate this term using the power rule, and we simplify it. So the final derivative becomes um, y prime is equal to 1 over square root of x plus 1 over 4x raised to 3 over 2. So um, let's have our number 17. So this is logarithm, no? So number 17, we have the function, wait, we have the function, the natural logarithm of secant x plus tangent x. So we use the derivative of natural logarithm. So the derivative becomes the derivative of the inside quantity divided by the inside quantity itself. So we should differentiate the secant x plus tangent x. So the derivative of secant x is secant x tangent x. So the derivative of tangent x is secant squared x. So we have to substitute into the formula, but factor out the secant x in the numerator and simplify. So after cancellation, the final derivative, that would be y prime is equal to secant x. So I think that's very easy. Now we have number 18. The function of tangent raised to negative 1 times x over 2. So that we use the derivative formula of inverse tangent, since we have tangent negative raised to negative 1, and that is in logarithm, that is actually an inverse. So the derivative of the inverse tangent u is u prime divided by 1 plus u squared. So let u equal x divided by 2, then the derivative of u is 1 half. So substitute into the formula and simplify. So that's why our answer, that will be y prime is equal to um 2 divided by x squared plus 4. So logarithm can be so confusing, or can be kanang sometimes difficult, but if you know the rule of differentiating logarithm and its a formula, then I'll say that kanang easy lang siya because you will just substitute it. So let's proceed to problem number 19. We have the function of x squared multiplied by sine 1 over x, as x is equal to 0. So in this, we have to use the product rule. So differentiate x squared to obtain 2x. So and also differentiate sine of 1 over x using the chain rule. So we have a lot of formula or rule to be applied in this kind of problem. So the derivative becomes cosine of 1 over x multiplied by the negative 1 over x squared, and substitute into the product rule formula and simplify. So that's why our answer, that would be y prime is equal to 2x sine 1 over x minus cos 1 over x. So let's continue with the number 25. So we have the function y is equal to um, x multiplied by the cube of the natural logarithm of x. So apply the product rule again because this is a multiplication. So the derivative becomes 3 times the square of natural logarithm x multiplied by 1 over x. And substitute into the product rule formula. And when you simplify, we can obtain the final derivative, which is the cube of natural logarithm x plus 3 times the square of natural logarithm x. So let's have number or problem number 26. Y is equal to, the function is inverse sine x minus the square root of 1 minus x squared. So we have to differentiate the inverse sine x first. So the derivative is 1 divided by the square root of 1 minus x squared. So now differentiate the square root of 1 minus x squared using the chain rule and simplify. So that's why we will obtain the answer y prime is equal to 1 plus x over the square root of 1x squared. Now let's go to number 29. So I think number 29 is the same with, what was that? Is the same with the number 1 problem. So we have x cube minus xy plus y cube um is equal to 1. So in this case, we have to apply the implicit differentiation. So we have to differentiate every term. The derivative of x cubed is 3x squared. For xy, use the product rule. Then the derivative becomes xy prime plus y. For y cubed, apply the chain rule. The derivative becomes 3y squared y prime. And we have to substitute all the derivatives. Group the y prime terms together and factor and solve for y prime. So that's why the final derivative would be y minus 3x squared divided by 3y squared minus x. So let's have number, um, magenta sa number 31. So the function is tangent x divided by 2x minus 3. So this is also, um, we have to apply the chain rule. So, and also differentiate the exponential function first, then multiply by the derivative of x squared, and the derivative of x squared is 2. So the final derivative, so that would be y prime is equal to 2x, the quantity of 2x minus 3, times multiplied by second squared x minus 2 times tan x over the quantity of 2x minus 3 squared. So, um, let's have number 35. We have the function y is equal to y is equal to second 3 raised to 3x plus sine x. So we have to differentiate term by term. So the derivative of 5 um the derivative of this is 15 15 3x, and then the derivative of cos x, I mean sin x is cosine x. So since we need to differentiate it term by term, then we can obtain the answer easily. So that would be y prime is equal to 15 e raised to 3x plus cos x. Now let's go down to number 37. So we have the function f of x is equal to 5 divided by the quantity of 2x minus 3 raised to the fourth power. So in the problem 37, we have to rewrite the function into exponential form. So we and after that, after rewriting it into exponential form, we can use the chain rule. So that's why we have f prime of x is equal to 5 multiplied by negative 4 multiplied by the inner function 2x minus 3 raised to negative 5 multiplied by 2. So that's why we will obtain the answer negative 40. The final differentiation rather, that would be negative 40 divided by the quantity of 2x minus 3 raised to fifth power. Let's go directly with number 39, since some of the problems are the same. So we have the 39. We have the function negative 10x squared minus 3 divided by 4x plus 1. So we'll use the quotient rule, which is VDU minus UDV. So, so that would be for the quantity of 4x plus 1 multiplied by negative 20x minus the quantity of negative 10x squared minus 3 times the quantity of negative 4 over the quantity of 4x plus 1 squared. So when we when we solve for this, we will obtain the answer negative 40x squared minus 20 x plus 12 over the quantity of 4x plus 1 squared. So I think this is very easy since we can just use the formula of quotient rule, and you're gonna just have to simplify it. So let's have number 40 now. So we have the function x cubed multiplied by the natural logarithm of x. And for this, we have to apply the product rule, which is again UDV plus VDU. So first, let's have to differentiate the natural logarithm of x to obtain 1 over x, and then substitute into the product rule formula, then simplify. So that's why we have the answer with 3x squared 3x squared natural logarithm of x plus x squared. Now, let's have number 41. So we have the function y is equal to the square root of 4x plus 2. Since this is a square root, then we can rewrite it in exponent form. So that would be 4x, the quantity of 4x plus 2 raised to 1 half. So this power, let's have it as our base. That would be 1 half. Then copy the function for x plus 2. So 1 half minus 1, that would be negative 1 half multiplied by 4. So we get 4 from the derivative of the inner function. So that's why our answer 4 times 1 half. So let's multiply it first. So that's 4 divided by 2 times the square root of 4x plus 2. But we can still simplify it because 4 times 1 half, that would be, yeah, when simplifying it, we can obtain 2 over or divided 2 divided by the square root of 4x plus 2. Now we have the number 42. So we have the function sine x minus cos y minus 2 is equal to 0. Again, in this kind of problem, we can apply the implicit differentiation. So differentiate sine x to obtain cosine x. Then differentiate negative cosine y carefully using the chain rule. Then the derivative becomes y multiplied by y prime. So the equation is equal to 0. So we have to solve for y prime. That's why our final derivative would be y prime is equal to negative cos x divided by sine y. So we're almost done with our part 1. So we have the number 43. We have a equation 3x squared minus 2xy plus 5y squared is equal to 0. Again, we have to use implicit differentiation with this kind of problem. So for the term 2xy, 2xy, we have to apply the product rule and group all y prime terms together and factor. So after factoring, we have to solve for y prime. That's why our answer would be y prime is equal to y minus 3x divided by 5y minus um minus x. And with our last problem, we have x squared plus 2xy is equal to y squared. So again, we have to apply the implicit differentiation. So in applying the implicit differentiation, we should differentiate each term carefully. For the term to for the term, I mean with this kind of problem, we have to, after differentiating the every term, we have to use the product rule of 2xy and group the group all y primes term on one side and factor then solve y prime. So the final derivative, that would be y prime is equal to negative x plus y divided by x minus y minus y. So in the conclusion of this part 1, the differentiation is one of the most important topics in calculus because it helps determine the rate of change of function. So throughout these problems that I've shown you, we use different differentiation techniques such as the power rule, the product rule, the quotient rule, the chain rule, and the logarithmic. So the differentiation, we have also the exponential differentiation, trigonometric differentiation, and even the inverse trigonometric differentiation and implicit differentiation. So these methods are essential in solving problems in mathematics, especially in the field of engineering, in the field of economics, in physics, and many real-life applications. By following the proper rules and solving step by step, differentiation becomes easier to understand and apply. So next is let's have our part 2, the which are the multiple choice. So let's have our number 1. In our number 1, we have the question, which of the following functions are not everywhere continuous? So the answer would be letter A. This is correct because the rational function becomes undefined whenever the denominator becomes 0. A function can't be continuous at the value where it is undefined. So that is very, very basic concept in calculus. And polynomial functions, linear functions, and constant functions are continuous everywhere, but irrational functions with denominator that becomes 0 is not continuous everywhere. So to answer this, we first recall the meaning of the continuity. So a function is continuous if its graph has no breaks, jumps, holes, or undefined values. So that's why our answer would be letter A. So for the second question, the question states which of the following functions are not differentiable? And the correct answer again is letter A. And this is correct because the absolute value function has a sharp corner at 0. Differentiability requires a smooth curve with no corners or cusps. Since the left-hand derivative and the right-hand derivative at 0 are not equal, the derivative does not exist at the point. So that means that the graph is smooth and has no sharp corners or cusps. And polynomial functions are differentiable everywhere, and linear functions are also differentiable everywhere. So constant functions have a derivative equal to 0. So they are differentiable as well. And the absolute value function is different because it forms a sharp corner at 0. At that point, the slope from the left side and the slope from the right side are not equal. Since the derivative does not exist at that point, and the function is not, so the function is not differentiable. Therefore, the correct answer would be the absolute value function. And we have our number 3. The question states, find the third derivative of function of f of x equals 5x squared multiplied by the quantity of x plus 47. So the correct answer is letter D. And that's correct because when we first expand the expression into 5x cubed plus 235x squared, differentiating once gives 15x squared plus 470x. And because it's second derivative, third derivative, we have to derive the second and then derive it again to arrive with the final derivative. Um, so the 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 expression correct among the choices, the expression connected to the third derivative process is letter D. So that's why it's the answer is letter D. So we have our question number 4. The question states, suppose that you have the following utility function of u of x equals square root of the x. Find negative u prime over u double prime. The correct answer is letter C. And this is correct because the first derivative of square root x is 1 over 2 square root x, while the second derivative is negative 1 over 4x raised to 3 halves, dividing the first derivative by the second derivative and simplifying carefully results in 2x. So we first differentiate the square root function using exponent notation, and the first derivative becomes 1 over 2 square root x. Differentiating again gives the second derivative, which becomes negative 1 over 4x raised to 3 halves. When we divide the first derivative by the second derivative and simplify carefully, the negative sign cancels correctly, and the final simplified answer becomes 2x. Therefore, the correct answer is 2x. So we have our number 5. The question states, find the second derivative of the function f of x is equal to 5x squared multiply, multiplied by the quantity of x plus 47. And the correct answer is letter B. So we have the number 6. The question states the derivative of the natural logarithm of exponential x equals 1. Is the statement true or false? The correct answer is letter A. This is correct because natural logarithm and the exponential function are inverse functions. So natural logarithm of exponential x simplifies directly into x, and the derivative of x is 1. We know that the natural logarithm and the exponential function are inverse functions. Because of this property, the natural logarithm of exponential x simplifies directly to x itself. And the derivative of x with respect to x is 1. Therefore, the statement is true. For number 7, the question asks of the values of x where the derivative equals to 0. So the correct answer is letter C. Because we first differentiate polynomial carefully using the power rule, and after simplifying the derivative, we factor the expression completely. And the values that make the derivative equal to 0 are the critical points of the function. And we have the number 8. If f of x is equal to 16 squared of x, then f f or the second derivative of 4 is equal to, the answer is letter D. Because to have or obtain this answer, we first rewrite the square root using exponent notation. Then we differentiate once using the power rule and differentiate again to obtain the second derivative. After substituting the given value in the second derivative and simplifying carefully, the result becomes negative 1/2. So therefore, the correct answer is negative 1/2. Um, so let's have number 10. So if a point moves on the curve x squared plus y squared equals 25, then at 0, 0, 5, d2y over dx2 is, so the correct answer of that is letter B. And we first differentiate implicitly to obtain the first derivative, then differentiating both sides give 2x plus 2y multiplied by y prime equals 0. And solving for y prime gives negative x over y. So we then differentiate again to obtain the second derivative, and after substituting the point 0, comma 5, the result becomes negative 1/5. Therefore, the correct answer is negative 1/5. For number 11, so if f of x is equal to 5 raised to x and f 1 raised to 1.002, um, is 5.0.16, which is the closest of f, the first derivative, f prime of 1. So the correct answer of this um is 8. That is 8. Because if we are given an approximate function value near 1, the derivative represents the instantaneous rate of change. So we apply the definition of the derivative using nearby value. And after simplifying the approximation, the result becomes approximately 8. So that would be 8. So for number 12, we are asked why the function x raised to 2/3 in the interval negative 8 to 8 does not satisfy the condition of the mean value theorem. So the mean value theorem, it requires continuity on a closed interval and differentiability on an open interval. So the function is continuous in the interval, but its derivative becomes undefined at 0 because it creates a vertical tangent. Since the function is not differentiable at 0, the theorem cannot be applied. So therefore, the correct answer is that the derivative of 0 does not exist. So that's it. So we have number 13. We we are asked which function is not differentiable for at least one real value of x. So polynomial functions are differentiable everywhere, and rational functions are differentiable wherever they are defined. So the absolute value function, however, has a sharp corner at 0. Because of that corner, the derivative does not exist at that point. So therefore, the correct answer is the absolute value function. So we have number 14. A function f has the derivative shown. Which of the following statement must be false? So, to answer this, we analyze the meaning of the derivatives carefully. A derivative represents the slope of the tangent line and rate of change of the function. Positive derivatives indicate increasing behavior, while negative derivatives indicate decreasing behavior. Any statement contradicting these properties must be false. Therefore, the correct answer is the statement that contradicts the behavior of derivatives. So, continuing with the next items, we now focus on graphs, derivatives, related rates, approximation, and application of differentiation. So we have number 15. The function of the function f whose graph is shown has f prime is equal to 0 at x is equal to. So we analyze the graph of the function and identify the values where the function is equal to 0. So the zeros of a functions are x values where the graph crosses or touches the x-axis. So by observing the graph carefully, we determine all the points where the graph intersects the horizontal axis. So therefore, the correct answer is the set containing all x-intercept shown in graph. So we have number 16. A differentiable function f has the value shown. Estimate f prime of 1.5. So the derivative measures the rate of change. So we use nearby values from the table and apply their difference quotients. So by computing the slope between the closest points, the correct answer is the numerical approximation closest to the computed slope. So let's go down to number 24 to number 24. We estimate the value of the derivative from the graph at a particular point. So the derivative corresponds to the slope of the tangent line. And by estimating steepness of the tangent line shown in the graph, we determine the closest numerical value. Therefore, the correct answer is the approximation nearest to the observed slope. For number 25, an initial population P of 1,500 bacteria grows in number according to the equation. Pt is equal to 1,500 multiplied by the quantity of 1 plus 5t divided by t squared plus 30, where t is in hours. Determine the rate at which the population is growing after 3 hours. So, and number 25, um, to answer this, we are given a bacterial growth function and asked to determine the growth rate at a specific time. So we differentiate the population function with respect to the time and substitute the given time value. So after simplifying carefully, we obtain the number of bacteria per hour at that instant. Therefore, the correct answer is the computed rate of growth. So, so let's have number 40. For the function f of x is equal to x plus 1 over x as x is an element of 1, 3. The value of c for the mean value theorem is, so in number 40, we compute the average slope between the interval endpoints and find where the derivative equals the slope. Solving the equation gives the required value of letter C, which is 2. So we have the 41. We determine the value of C satisfying Rolle's theorem. So Rolle's theorem applies when endpoint values are equal and the function is continuous and differentiable. So we differentiate the function and solve where the derivative equals 0. So the resulting value is the correct answer. So let's have number 61. So in number 61, so the first question, so we differentiate a logarithmic function using the chain rule. So derivative of the logarithmic is 1 over the inside function multiplied by the derivative of inside expression, and simplifying it gives the correct derivative. So for 62, what will be the average rate of change of the function y is equal to 16 minus x squared between x is equal to 3 and x is equal to 4? So we determine the average rate of change of a function between two values, and we substitute the values in the function, subtract the outputs, and divide the difference of inputs. So number 65, we the fifth question, we are given the position function of a moving particle and asked to determine the velocity at a certain time. So velocity is the first derivative of position, and differentiating function and substituting the specified time gives the velocity. And down to the last one, for the 66th and final question, we are asked to determine the acceleration of a moving particle at a given time. And acceleration is the second derivative of position or the derivative of velocity. So we first differentiate the position function to obtain velocity, then differentiate again to obtain acceleration, and substituting the specified time gives the final answer. So this concludes the complete discussion of all 66 questions in examinations. These items cover the continuity, differentiability, derivative rules, tangent lines, logarithmic differentiation, implicit differentiation, mean value theorems, Rolle's theorem, optimization, concavity, particle motion, and related rates. And mastering these concepts strengthens analytical thinking, and prepares students for advanced applications in mathematics, engineering, economics, and science. So thank you very much for listening, and God bless.